Herbert Allen walked home from the university. He was so occupied with the book in his hand, and he never saw anything around him.
When he reached home, his wife always asked, "What happened today, Herbert?"
Nothing.
That's what you always say. I know in advance that you're going to say nothing, but I asked anyway.
Well, I've been brushing up on the Greek philosophers all day. Is that what you mean?
No, it isn't. Go watch for supper.
One spring day, the weather was so beautiful that Herbert left the university earlier than usual and went to the park.
Corsi carried the philosophy book with him. As long as he had to read it anyway, why not in the park?
He sat down on a bench under the tree, made himself at home, and started to read.
Around him were people enjoying the sunshine. The trees were covered with leaves. The flowers were in bloom. Every now and then a bird sang. It was a lovely day.
Professor Allen was about to begin the second chapter of his book when a man came over and sat down next to him.
Good afternoon. The last time I saw you was in Philadelphia, wasn't it? What are you doing here? Do you live in this town? I'm here seeing about something for my company. I've been up to my ears in work. This is the first chance I've had to get out of the office.
Herbert didn't know what to say. He hadn't been to Philadelphia since 1952, when he went there to visit his wife's cousin. The man was mistaken, to say the least. Herbert, as far as he knew, had never seen the man before.
What's the matter? Don't you remember me?
Are you one of my wife's cousins?
One of your wife's cousins? I don't think so.
Then I don't know you. The only people I know in Philadelphia are my wife's cousins.
Excuse me, I've obviously made a mistake.
The man went away and Herbert returned to his book. He had read only a couple of pages when, all of a sudden, a woman with a little boy spoke to him.
Pardon, mister, you look like a respectable person. Would you keep an eye on my son while I go across the street to the drugstore? I'll be back in 5 minutes. Before Herbert could reply, the woman was gone. The professor put his book down and looked at the boy.
What's your name?
Herbert Allen. What's yours?
Alan Herbert.
Really? That's interesting.
Look, here comes the ice cream man. I want some ice cream.
All right. What flavor do you want?
Chocolate.
Herbert bought some ice cream for the boy. Almost immediately, he had spots of chocolate on his clean white shirt. At that moment, the child mother returned.
Oh, look at the shirt. Chocolate ice cream all over it. Mister, you're to blame for this. Why did you let him have it?
He wanted it?
He could have done without it. Now, what am I going to do? I have to meet my mother-in-law here in 10 minutes. If she sees Lala like this, she would think I'm a careless housewife, not to mention a poor mother. I'll just have to take him home and change his shirt. I can't get rid of those spots here. I should have known all along not to leave Ella with a stranger.
The angry woman hurried away, dragging the chocolate-covered boy after her.
That was a close call. I thought for a minute she was going to have me arrested.
Once again, the professor opened his book. It was very interesting, and for the time being, he thought only about philosophy.
But once more he was interrupted. This time it was a rather poor-looking man.
Excuse me, sir. Could you let me have 25 cents? I'm broke and I haven't had anything to eat all day. I've had my heart set on a nice big hamburger since this morning. It's all I think about.
Let me look in my pocket. I'm sorry, I don't have a quarter. Could you make a 50-cent piece though?
Oh, thank you, sir. Thank you.
The foreman took the 50 cents and hurried away, looking back at Herbert and shaking his head.
For the next half hour, nobody interrupted Professor Allen. However, he didn't read his book. There was so much to see.
There was a fire in the store in front of the park,
An automobile accident at the corner.
and a military parade that marched right past the park.
It goes without saying that Herbert had no time to read.
Finally, around 4:30, Herbert decided he'd better go home.
His wife was slightly annoyed when she opened the door.
What have you been to, Herbert? You lazy loser. The president of the Philosophical Society has been trying to get in touch with you all afternoon.
You think where was I? Oh yes, I remember. It was a fine day. I went to the park.
Oh, you did? Oh, I'm glad, Herbert. You should go there every afternoon. The fresh air and sunshine will do you good.
Oh, I can't go that often.
Then go every other afternoon. Really, you're too hard on yourself, working so much at the university. Well, did you see anything interesting in the park? The professor smiled. For once he would have lots of things to tell his wife. Oh, I know. Don't tell me. As usual, nothing happened. Sometimes I wish you'd take your nose out of your book long time to look at the world around you. It's a lot more interesting.
The professor's wife went back to the kitchen. Herbert went into the living room and sat down.
I really don't feel up to arguing with her. Besides, maybe she is right. Maybe nothing happened and I just dreamed it all. Still, it was all so exciting, I'd just as soon it was true.
Herbert was so absent-minded that he couldn't trust his own ability to remember anything.
He was removing his coat when suddenly he noticed a spot on his sleeve. He began to smile.
Chocolate ice cream? Then it wasn't a dream after all. Everything really did happen. Martha, come here. I have something to tell you.